There's really only two skills that you need in order to be successful at accomplishing any goal that you have in life. The problem is that these skills are often very difficult to get good at and to master. Truthfully, they are skills that I still struggle with to this day, but I recognize how important they are. So in these videos, I'm going to be talking about these two skills, as well as some ways that we can start to cultivate getting better at these skills. The first skill is being consistent, and consistency can really just be defined as acting in the same way over a period of time. And so a simple example of this is, let's say I want to start going to the gym more regularly, and I want to start doing that 5 days a week. Well, my ability to go to the gym 5 days a week and maintain that course of action over time, over a period of months or even a year, is my measure of consistency. And so if I find that I'm only able to go twice a week and I'm missing a lot of weeks, well, then I'm not being very consistent. And one of the reasons why consistency is so difficult to maintain is there's a lag time between the inputs and the outputs. So if we kind of keep with this whole gym example, let's say I have a goal of I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle mass, which would be awesome. So I can have that goal, and let's say I even have a really solid routine. I have 5 days of strength training that I'm doing per week, and let's imagine that I'm giving in proper amounts of rest as well. Well, I can do that for a month and be consistent for a month and still not see any results. And that's because any sort of skill acquisition or result that we're looking to get is sort of operates on a principle similar to compound interest. So if you invest money in a stock or index fund and you invest on a regular basis, you're not really going to see many gains at first. It's going to be very, very small. And it's only until after a pretty long period of time that you start to see some pretty wild gains. And so that's, unfortunately, it's before we get to those large gains that a lot of people tend to quit and fall off the wagon, and they lose their consistency. But really, it's just a matter of, there's this term called the aggregation of marginal gains. And the idea is that we just need to get 1% better every day when it comes to whatever skill or goal that we have. So if our goal, if we keep with the gym example, is just being able to go to the gym those 5 days a week or whatever the goal is, and being able to maybe lift a couple pounds more than I was able to do the week before. Or if it comes to, let's say, web design, UX design, something that I'm doing now, being able to find those 1% changes that I can make on a regular basis so that I can improve my skill. And even though I'm not going to notice those 1% differences over the span of, let's say, 4 to 6 months, those 1% improvements can result in a huge change. And so that's why it becomes important to be consistent, is really just the effect of those marginal gains over time. Now, even if you can learn to be consistent and become consistent, which is something that I feel like I do a decent job of doing, it's really the second skill that really puts it to the test. And that is the ability to be persistent. Being persistent can be defined as maintaining a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. And this is personally where I find the most difficulty, because I can be consistent under ideal circumstances. So when it comes to the gym, typically I like to try to go 5 days a week. For most weeks, I can do that just fine. But if there happens to be a night where I don't sleep very well and maybe I only get 4 to 5 hours of sleep, when I wake up in the morning and my alarm goes off, I have a tremendous amount of opposition to going to the gym. And so in that scenario, I have two options. I can succumb to that and I can go to bed, or I can flex my muscle of persistence and go to the gym regardless of how I feel. Now, of course, there's the argument of, hey, maybe you should listen to your body and get that extra hour of sleep. But I personally feel like if it's just a one-off event like that, I should flex that muscle of persistence in going to the gym, even if I don't want to. And this really applies to anything in life. If you're wanting to, whether you're wanting to go to the gym, whether you're wanting to read more or develop that new skill of whatever it is, learning UX design, learning guitar, whatever it is that you want to do, being able to set a goal of practicing or getting better at something a certain number of times per week, being able to do that in spite of obstacles is really when things can become difficult. Because let's face it, if you're working like a full-time job or even going to school for that matter, there are going to be days where you feel really tired and you don't feel like working on that side project of yours. I know I have days like that all the time where I get home from work and it's like the last thing I want to do is work on web design. And I have to somehow find a way to push through that. And really the couple of ways that I have found to be able to flex that muscle of persistence is, and this isn't foolproof, but it is something that has sort of marginally helped me, is sort of scheduling my work periods, or even like the times that I go to the gym, for example. So I know for me, the first thing I do in the morning is I go to the gym at 6 a.m. So I've blocked off that time on my schedule as my time to go to the gym. And so I find that when I block time off to have specific activities, it sort of forces me, or rather it gives me a little bit more impetus to actually do the thing that I said I'm going to do. Or for example, at night, I usually try to start my work on learning web design at around 7 p.m. So I'll kind of block off 7 to 8 p.m. for learning web design. And I find that when I have those blocked periods of time, it tends to help me push through that opposition I have of feeling tired or just not even feeling like I want to do it. If I have it blocked on my schedule, I feel kind of more accountable to myself. And then the other thing is just being really clear on what my why is for why I'm wanting to do the thing that I'm setting aside time to do. So like for the gym, if I had no reason why I was going to the gym and I was just doing it because other people said it's a good idea, I would fall off that wagon so quick. So there needs to be like a reason why we're wanting to go to the gym. So for me, it's truthfully to look good and feel good about myself. And I always feel better after a workout, both physically and mentally. And so those benefits alone are my why, and those keep me going to the gym. And then for working on web design, I have my why for that. I want to be able to work for myself, do creative work, and be able to work a role where I can be remote and work from wherever it is that I happen to be at the time. And so that is my anchor point and my why for wanting to do that. And that can often see me through the obstacles as well. And so making sure that for whatever activity you want to do, for whatever skill you want, having a very clear why for wanting for why you're wanting to do that can often allow you to have enough fuel to break through that persistence. So these two skills, consistency and persistence, are, I think, essential skills to master, but they're also incredibly difficult skills to master, especially persistence, which is something that I still struggle with a lot. But the good news is I don't really think that we have to master these skills. I think we just need to practice them. So even if we fall off of our routine, I think we just need to have the awareness that we have fallen off of our routine and give ourselves some grace to allow ourselves to get back on track with whatever goal that we are trying to attain. I think where we can get into trouble is when we start to feel sorry for ourselves, and then we get into this spiral of thinking like, oh, we're not worthy of that goal because we weren't able to be consistent with it. And I think a lot of that is perpetuated through what people portray themselves as through social media. If you look at a lot of influencers and all these, like high achievers on Instagram or whatever platform, they tout themselves as being able to be perfectly consistent in persistence, and I think that's probably bullshit. I think that most people, no, I'm going to revise that. I think everyone struggles with consistency and persistence in some level. Because we are not perfect. We are human. We fall victims to things like illness and family emergencies and mental health issues and other things that are really can be outside of our control. We are not robots. It is impossible for us to be consistent and persistent. But I think just like any skill, those two skills of consistency and persistence are something that we can get better at in and of themselves. We just have to have the grace to be able to allow ourselves to fail from time to time so that we can realize those marginal gains over time. Now, for some people, it can be difficult to work on these skills because they don't really know what goal they have for themselves, or maybe they're wrestling with multiple different paths that they're trying to figure out what to take in life. And truthfully, this is a situation that I found myself in a few months ago. And there was a book that I read that really helped me to gain some clarity on what path that I want to take in life. And so if you're interested in that and feel like that might be something you want to check out, you can look at this video here, and that might be something you might find to be useful. Now, if you found this video to be useful, it would mean a lot if you hit the subscribe button. It helps me out more than you know and just lets me know if these videos are resonating with you. But until next time, I will see you in the next video. Take care.